all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship. This right here is round number 4 of this season, coming to you tonight from Winton. My name is Ron Maunz, currently working the comms and the cams at the moment here on this show. Joshua Wilkie will be alongside me in the broadcast booth for tonight, and we welcome you all here down under at Winton Motor Speedway. This is a bit of an odd track here in the world of iRacing. It doesn't get used a lot, which I think is a bit of a shame. You know, this track is kind of like Marmite in a sense. People either love it or absolutely hate it. There's really no in between. But Josh, I think we are in for a really good race. You know, these drivers have impressed so far in this campaign. We've seen three amazing races through to this point, expecting it to continue here in round number 4.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Honestly, it's pretty awesome to be able to talk tonight here on one of these F4 shows. I've been watching these drivers just get better and better at racecraft, faster and faster in their cars. And this one's going to be a bit of a challenge. I know that was a great analogy there at the opener, Ron, like Marmite or Vegemite. You either love it or you absolutely hate it, and Winton is kind of like that out here. It's not an easy prospect, Winton. It's a bit of a difficult track. It's a little bit stop and starty at times. It can be frustrating, but if you get the knack of it and you can get it right, it's actually pretty fun. Kind of feels like a big go-kart track, and it's one of those ones, at least when I head to, I kind of actually relish this a little bit because I know people don't like it, and for me, I just kind of like to try to get up under that and see what I can make of it.
Yeah, have some interesting challenges, try and make it all work. That's one of the more satisfying feelings in sim racing, when you get to just have that combination, everything meshes. I remember one time I was at the track right towards the end of last season, and one of the other parents of somebody who I used to race with went up to me and was like, hey, do you ever foresee yourself getting back behind the wheel? Do you miss it at all? And what I said verbatim was, I miss the good days. I miss the days when everything was meshing, everything was feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
There was a synergy behind the wheel. When everything was like a little bit off, that's when I absolutely hated it with a burning passion. But these drivers absolutely love it. We love covering the Sim Races Group Series here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and you can never miss out on the racing action by subscribing and hit that notification bell. As we get towards the end of this qualifying session, already 12 and a half minutes in our rear view mirror, here's how it stands right now. James McDonald is currently your top qualifier, although it's not too far between himself and David Borden, and really not a lot between himself and Christopher Yee, your current third place qualifier. It has been very close between these racers. Yee currently in the pits at the moment, Borden out there on the racetrack, heading his way off through some of the opening turns in the early part of this sector. But to say that this is going to be a competitive race based off what we're seeing in qualifying, just an abundance of orange on our timing tower, that's saying a lot.
Oh wow, yeah, actually just now having a look over there, obviously coming off our last show, the AMS show, they're still buzzing a little bit from that race. It was an awesome one. If anybody's out there when this is done, go back, have a look at that. But holy cow, yeah, that is a lot of orange numbers up at the top there. We're talking thousandths of a second, tenths of a second. It's going to be a close one out there, and I think this place is kind of like that, isn't it, Ron? It's there's really only one line around here. Pretty difficult to pass in a few spots, but wow, yeah, that qualifying is definitely tight, and that's going to give us a pretty interesting race. Racecraft is going to be a big deal today. This is going to be a decision maker kind of race where you're going to have to pick your moments and really try not to slow the whole pack down. You know, we talk about this a lot, don't we, Ron, on the Weekend Warrior shows, that if you kind of hack the bone a little and you dive at apex, especially early in the race, it just sort of drives you backwards. You and whatever pack might be around you or behind you backwards. You need to pick those moments. You need to kind of try to keep that ebb and flow of the race going and find that racecraft instead of battling for apex. And this is going to be one of those tracks, I think, for sure. Some difficult spots, and you're going to have those chances, you know, to dive up the apex in some spots perhaps where you shouldn't.
Yeah, some good opportunities to get some moves done here. We'll show you very briefly the track map here of Winton. It's an odd track, this. It feels like there's one main sort of nucleus where the first chicane is, and then there's just a whole bunch of offshoots kind of sprouting out from there. Here's Nathan Perkins' brief little off-track excursion through the top end of this racetrack. One of the perspectives that I love here is the static cams that we have got here. I may have to reel it back to Dustin Brandt. Yeah, look at that. The serpentine section at the top end of this racetrack, very rarely in the world of motorsports
great
you get
shot
to
there.
see kind of a section like that. I call it a snail section, kind of similar to like the opening series of turns at Shanghai, the Chinese F1 circuit, or going back a little bit further in the lore of Formula One, Sepang in Malaysia, the opening series of turns there. Very odd section of track where it feels like you're always turning, always battling something, as David Borden was just able to jump to the pole there right as the checkered flag came out. Last time of asking, and Borden delivers.
Yeah, squeaked it out there. You can see those times actually too did get a little bit more separated at the front, but not a bunch. And yeah, he was able to just kind of pip it in there in the 94 at the end. You know, that might be kind of David Borden's MO there. He is kind of, you know, he sort of sits in the background every once in a while, and then bam, all of a sudden he seems to be part of the show. And proving today there, he's going to be right at the top of the show in the 94. So he'll be starting the race in the pole position here. That's kind of where you want to be around here, I think, isn't it, Ron? It'll be a little easier prospect there if you can make it into T1, T2, T3, still be holding onto that pole position. You might have a pretty good race there. So Yeah, I would want to be up front in this one. A little bit more difficult to get things to happen in the middle. You can see just how narrow this is, track. Watching the Duff car here. Pretty awesome livery on that one. I love that. Probably the best name for a beer anybody's ever come up with there, I think, even though it is a fictional one. But you can see just how narrow this place is, and it's not an easy place to pass cars around, that's for sure.
Yeah, duff is a funny word, isn't it? Duff, there's really nothing like it in the beer world. See, I wouldn't be able to make these jokes a matter of a year ago, but now I'm at drinking age, I can actually make them. But as we get towards the end of this, the true end of qualifying, the checkered flag's been at for about 2 minutes now, but these drivers give it a small little grace period where they can run around this racetrack. Let's use the opportunity, shall we, to take a quick little gander at our championship point standings as we head off into this round of the championship. Still early doors, but a lot left to be decided. Alex Schwartz is currently at the top right now. 51 points is his tally. David Borden is in second. Greg Meyer is in third. Jose Navas and Jacob Gein round at your field as classic. We switch over to the next session right as we get there, so we have to break out just a little bit of I nearly said VHT. That would not have the intended effect. Break out a little bit of WD-40 to get those graphics off our screen and take a quick little gander at our starting grid here for round number 4 of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship here down in Australia. David Borden going to grab the pole. He'll be alongside James McDonald. Christopher Yee will be next to Jacob Guyton. It's going to be Nathan Perkins alongside Jose Navas making up row number 3, with Dustin Brown and Alex Schwartz making up row 4. Greg Meyer and Ryan Shield will complete your top 10 with Sarah Vase alongside Ken Glasser on row number 6. Row 7 will be Damian Dietrich, the newcomer here in this series, starting in lucky spot P13. He'll be alongside Bob Eggert in 14th place. Rudy Samudio will be in P15. Tyler Hagan in 16th. Walker Fultz in 17th place in front of Andres Ruiz alongside him on your 9th row. Rounding out your top 20 will be Cy Nathan next to Ken Estep, with Jason Trantham completing your 21 drivers class here in qualifying. Yet to set a time there in that session, but still looking forward to it. This is going to be a fun one, waiting for those lights to come out and for things to get up and rolling here. This is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good one here for round number 4 of this season, waiting for the drivers to line up on that starting grid, waiting to get our starting lights illuminated so we can send this field in that small little run down into turn number 1. And when we do, my oh my, it is going to be a stunner of a race for sure. Keeping our eyes focused as the field starts to build the revs. One more driver that we're waiting out for. It's Jason Trantham yet to take to that starting grid. But nope, we're going to get a 4 start here. Round number 4 of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship about to get up and rolling as the green flag flies and the drivers are on their way. We're racing here down Australia. It's a fantastic start from David Bourne. Whole shot off the line. He's going to jump into the race lead in front of James McDonald. Christopher Yee got to be slotted in third in that number 3 car. Nathan Perkins and Jacob Gein now going side by side as they head their way into turn number 3. And it looks like that fight will continue off into 4. Good start for your top 3. They're going to punch out into a whole shot, but farther behind it is still Bedlam.
Yeah, looking like a pretty awesome start here for sure. Borden off to a good one. Like I was saying, you want to make sure that you hold on to that. Looking at the NASA car now, making me think about, of course, Artemis 2 heading around the moon, probably on their way back by now. Pretty cool stuff there. The NASA car representing for that. Actually got some Apollo stickers on there too. Pretty cool. But looking at a pretty clean start here from everybody, Ron. I'm not really seeing any Bedlam out there at all. So, like I was saying earlier, these F4 drivers, man, have really cleaned up their act, so to speak, and I'm really liking the look of it for sure. Things are looking awesome out there.
See, for me, whenever I say Bedlam, I feel like it just sounds like a really nice bed. That sounds comfortable. Sleep on a Bedlam and never have any nightmares again. David Borden, though, it's been a dream start for him. He's leading in front of James McDonald, although those two did get a little bit close as they headed their way out of the final corner. Running on board now with Borden looking back at McDonald, and we'll swap sides there, looking from the front end of McDonald's car, holding on to second at the current moment. He is loving it out there in P2. 2. He's feeling a little bit of pressure from Christopher Yee, but really not a lot, as Yee was out of the clear for a very brief period of time. However, Nathan Perkins is right there to try and pounce. We ride on board with Perkins, the number 5 car, heading his way off through turn number 5. This is when the speed starts to get high through the turns, and the pressure starts to get high as well. You can see a bit of a bad moment there from Christopher Yee, and a bad moment there for Borden. He spins, heading his way through the top end of the racetrack. Gonna spin his way through the field as more drivers gonna scramble and pile in.
Oh no, it's looking like monster jam out there. Unfortunately for David Borden, getting run over, rear wing removed. Of course, we do have damage off in the F4 series here in the SRG F4, so he's going to be able to continue on. But wow, what a bobble at the front, what an upset at the front after such an amazing start there for the 94. Good qualifying, and then unfortunately he's just going to throw it all away in one of these corners. Really easy to do, as we're starting to see it happen more. You know, that makes me wonder, people kind of pushing on their tires a little bit. Things are starting to heat up. You really do have to kind of really slow down, take a breath or two after you've messed up a corner, and just kind of cool those tires. We are looking at our temperatures there, 74 Fahrenheit, so not exactly the coolest track out there, is it, Ron? But not really the hottest either. But yeah, I'm thinking that perhaps you know, you just need to take a little breath or two here and slow down, try to hit those apexes, and maybe not worry so much about the fight for a minute. Cool those tires down. Oh, we lose another back wing in the foreground there.
That's going to be
Ken Estep.
That's a shame for him. Yeah, very, very unfortunate. Been a wild start to this one. It wasn't lap 1 that brought the chaos. It ended up being lap 2. James McDonald and all that has been able to take the race lead. Christopher Yee is right behind him in second, with Nathan Perkins riding at your podium in third. However, Jacob Gein is right there to try and pounce as well. We'll keep an eye on these drivers' battles all throughout this field, as we may see a move attempted off into the turn. Gein going for the dive on Perkins, and he'll punch his way through into the final podium spot. That's P3 for Gein, as more drivers going off the track farther behind. That's Alex Schwartz spinning around, unfortunately, there for the Tony Tiger machine. The Frosted Flakes, unfortunately, I think the frosting ended up on the tires.
Not so great there from the number 10 for sure. Unfortunately, my favorite cereal having a spin into the grass. I mean, you just can't help yourself, right? Amazing livery on that car. We're going to get a quick replay here of exactly what happens. He's going to nip that curb on the inside. Doesn't look like that did it, though. So hey, we're on the straight here. We're following the 55. We're in draft. Somebody's spinning a little in the background there as well. So what's he going to do? He's got a good entry here by the looks of it. Going to nip that curb.
I think it may be a red
just
herring.
Asking a little too much. Yeah, I think maybe we probably pulled the wrong, or maybe it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a classic iRacing red herring there. It's
yeah,
it's going a little bit farther back there. Yeah, you know, it's we love our SDK software. We love our SDK software. We love our SDK software. Looking at the fights all throughout this field, though, continues to get hot. This is the 3-car battle currently for second between Christopher Yee, Jacob Gein, and Nathan Perkins. We follow them as well, with Jose Navas, rear gunner of this field, having a fantastic opportunity to maybe grab a good spot here, as I think we just had a battle flare up between Dustin Brown and Greg Meyer. Yes, they were briefly side by side. Dustin Brown, a name that I don't recognize here from this series in the past, so maybe making his debut here this season. Currently holding on to P6 spot at the current moment. Great result for the driver on debut. If you can hold on to it, still have about 3/4 of this race left to go, so you can't count your chickens before they hatch, or, well, we're off the back of Easter. You can't count your eggs before they hatch.
Yeah, I do apologize there, actually, for catching the livery, but not the name of our new driver here, Dustin A. Brown. So, cool livery on there. But, yeah, he is going to be one of, I believe, a new driver here as well, doing very well tonight in 6th place, almost in the top 5, just behind Jose Navas. Bob Eggert here in 9th, and Sarah Vase as well, doing pretty good in 10th place in that Force India liveried car today. You know, it's starting to look a little bit now like a track day out there for a lot of them, and this is kind of what happens around here, isn't it? There will be more chances for sure, but it does tend to kind of spread out. This is a very technical track, and if you're not getting those braking periods and that line correct every lap, you're just kind of burning time away, and it does tend to kind of spread out around here. You get little mini packs, I like to say, as we're kind of seeing there, little 2 cars and then 1 and then another 2, and they're just a little bit spread out. You're not getting big, long trains of cars, and that's going to be just down to the difficulty of this track, I believe. You know, the drivers that really put the hours in and really mesh maybe with this track are always going to do a little bit better. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, some people don't like tracks like this, or they kind of don't look forward to it. These are the ones I kind of look forward to, the difficult ones that are going to really throw up a challenge. And especially this first section here, Ron, so difficult. These curbs that you want to use, but if you use too much of them, not only can they damage the car, they can end your race.
Yeah, certainly true. As we saw Jacob Guyton just get a move put on Christopher Yee to jump his way up into P2. So, whereas we were expecting the battle to maybe cool off a bit, Guyton bringing the heat in that. We'll take a look at the replay here to see what went down. This was hanging out of the first chicane. You can see Yee runs a little bit wide, misses a first apex, sacrifices his run through the second part of the turn, and there you can see Guyton just punching his way through. That's going to be P2 for the driver of the number 64 car, but all that battling is just allowing James McDonald to drive farther and farther away. You look at this perspective from the rear end of that race car. Those cars are starting to become just more and more of little blobs in his rear view mirror. Hey, if he has his iRacing graphics turned down low enough, he may not be able to see anything at all. That was my top trick when I was still driving before I got off into this broadcasting stuff, for you to see all these wonderful graphics here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Today, I would always have my graphics turned down, so I couldn't see anybody in my rear view mirror, so I always thought that I was leading by a massive margin, even if I had a racer right behind me. Did something very similar back in my karting days. I used to drive without my glasses, which wouldn't be too bad if I drove around with my left eye closed, but unfortunately my left eye works about as good as an eye as my left foot would work as an eye, but I digress. Pun there, I just realized. James McDonald, though, your race leader, still holding on to a comfortable margin. You're battling for the final podium spot is maybe cooled off as Guyton looks to pull away. So we'll jump back to this little squabble here with Christopher Yee and Jose Navas. And this is growing in numbers. You got Nathan Perkins right behind Navas, and you've got Dustin Brown not too far behind them either. He has a fantastic front row seat to this battle, doesn't he, Josh?
Yeah, he's got a great front row seat here for sure, and for his debut, getting a good look at some of the series veterans here, have a battle in front of him, see if he can't maybe pick out who's who and what kind of strategies they're going to use. And as we know, that's a pretty important thing when you enter a new league there, to kind of figure out where you fit in. If you go out there and just are a wrecking ball and try to pass everybody and be the fastest guy out there, you're not going to make too many friends, and maybe you won't learn any racecraft from anybody either. You might not pull any information, but Dustin A. Brown here getting a really good shot at Nathan Perkins, now on board with him, looking at Jose Navas, looking for a way by. T1's not really the place to get it done. You can kind of intimidate somebody there into a mistake, maybe get them on exit here, but not really a place you can make a pass. Coming into some kind of more passing opportunity areas now. He's going to have a look here. This is where you want to make sure you get a really good run out of this corner if you can, because you might be able to have a chance coming up here to, again, maybe like press square to intimidate a little bit, see if you can wedge your competitor and maybe get him to make a bit of a mistake, get up the inside and make something happen through this kind of serpentine section that you were such a good shot we had of earlier there. And here's another good static shot of them kind of sweeping through that section as well. Pretty awesome track here, honestly. It does feel a bit like a go-kart track, I think, and I understand why people don't like it. It's a bit stop-starty, but I think it races pretty well, and it's a definitely good test of your skill.
And here in the Sim Racers Group world, everybody looking to find their firm footing here on iRacing with their rigs, getting grips to these Formula 4 cars, which are a unique ride in the world of iRacing, shall we say. They're pretty much just go-karts with plywood wings. Of course, they are made out of carbon fiber, but the point remains regardless. These cars may be rudimentary, but they have their own little unique set of challenges that make them absolutely fantastic to drive, and from a broadcaster perspective as well, absolutely awesome to cover. So we can see Nathan Perkins running a little bit wide, heading his way off through turn number 2. Was worried that he'd maybe start to feel some pressure from Dustin Brown, the newcomer we've brought on board with him, heading his way off through this section. You can see how much grip that these drivers have. We talked about the track conditions earlier on, the track temps, 82 degrees Fahrenheit with temperatures in the 70s. That, I mean, it should be noted that we are, like, this would be springtime. Hey! Springtime in Australia, as a bump and run attempted there from Dustin Brown, getting into the back of Nathan Perkins.
Yeah, getting into the back of the NASA car there, you can see he was like, "Oops, sorry about that, Nathan," and backed out of it a little bit. So again, some good racecraft and stuff out there, some good camaraderie between the two. He's gonna make sure he makes that one stick properly as we see him almost give him another little tap there. So we'll keep an eye on this for sure. But it looks like, again, he's kind of figuring out that closing distance. He's looking for a place to make this clean and try to make it happen if he can. And of course, Nathan Perkins going to do his best to try to make that not happen. But perhaps he heard us talk and got a little bit nervous there, and he has made a bit of an error on entry into the final corner. So he's going to give that one up to Dustin A. Brown for the moment. But we'll keep an eye on that NASA liveried car because, well, it's one of my favorite things ever. And, that mission that's going on right now to the moon, one of the coolest things that's going to happen in my entire lifetime here. So hopefully Nathan A. Perkins can get that 5th position back here, at least get a good fight for it. I know myself, don't always really care so much about the position, but as long as I have a really good fight and it's clean with someone out there, I leave the rig happy. And I think that's pretty much the way the SRG league runs as well. You want to get pointy, you want to be fast, but you also want to be clean and have good racecraft as well.
See, now I am curious about this machine of Nathan Perkins. You see that NASA logo on the side. That could be one of two things. It could be NASA, the space organization, or it could be NASA, the racing organization, the National Autosport Association that we have here in the U.S. See, maybe it's just down to the fact that I was an SCCA kid. I am still a product of the Sports Car Club of America. That makes it seem like I was made in a factory. But as somebody who grew up racing in the SCCA, I was never really aware of NASA's existence, but it's always a little bit confusing whenever you see that on the side of the car. Do we have a space fan on our hands, or do we have a race fan on our hands, or both? The two can overlap. I was tuning into that Artemis 2 launch earlier. That was absolutely amazing, and I've been getting recommended a bunch of old clips from Apollo 13 on my my YouTube feed, so I've been watching clips of that movie quite a lot over the past couple of days,
awesome.
Hoping that
great
everybody
movie.
can come
Such
home.
a good movie. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Though one thing I did learn, though, seeing that and also watching Captain Phillips, I believe was the other name of the other movie, and of course, I know they said Castaway there.
That's another Tom Hanks on a Tom Hanks role.
Yeah, another Tom Hanks role. You never want to go on a trip with him because it always ends in some sort of disaster. Either there's an explosion in space. You played Captain Sully one time,
right.
So you run through a flock of, was it seagulls, pigeons? I think it was geese that ended up taking that.
Yeah, flock of geese. Yep. Oh, that's Navas.
Oh dear! Right as we were
Navas,
talking about Tom Hanks' acting career, Navas goes off the track.
Yeah, he goes off the track a little bit, and you're right, man. If you walk onto a plane, you see Tom Hanks on it or captaining that plane, or just don't get on it. Just don't be there. If you see him, flying something, just maybe get off it. And Navas, though, unfortunately, having a bit of a spin, losing 2 positions. I don't think he got all the way around, but he lost quite a bit of time and quite a bit of speed there as well. So he's going to lose out on those positions. 14 minutes have clicked away in the race here, just about to hit 15, so only about 5 minutes left to get something done. James McDonald out front only had to get 1 position and then just was able to sit out here and kind of cruise around. So he's got about a 2-second lead, and that's it's a comfortable lead. You don't want to make a mistake, but it's enough that you can go out there and just kind of drive your line and try to drive your track the way you know how to do it, and you're probably going to be okay at this point. And that can be kind of comforting as a driver out there. He's been able to kind of keep this pace. Looks like he's slowly gaining a little bit of pace. You can kind of just relax and drive your line and bring it home. Again, not an easy prospect on a track like this. Really easy to hit a curb or have a little spin or something, but I would expect, as long as anything doesn't go too wild here for him, he should be able to make it home. Jacob Guyton just behind him, and then you'll find Christopher E. In 3rd place. A little bit of a closer battle there. You can see on our timing tower actually kind of blinking back and forth between yellow and orange here as I speak. So he might have a chance in the next 5 minutes if he can create it for himself here, but that's going to be about the closest battle on the track at the moment, isn't it, Ron? Nathan Perkins, Dustin Brown. You have Ryan Chia, Jose Navas a little bit, and then after that, you're talking about seconds and stuff in between people. So again, like I was saying, bit of a track day in certain spots here. You're out there fighting this track.
Yeah, you certainly are. This is one of those racetracks where you are always fighting something, either fighting your competition or fighting just to keep it on the road. I remember a couple of seasons ago, I think this is probably coming up to a year and a half now, the more that I think about it, we were broadcasting one of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors races here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And that was slick. Hitting the subscribe button right at the cough. However, I remember broadcasting that race, and the track temperatures were just about the highest that I'd ever seen in my entire life. Now, that has now been usurped by a Porsche Club of America broadcast I was doing just one week ago. It was 154 degree Fahrenheit
ridiculous
track temperature. I like how I had to specify that. If it was 154 Celsius, everybody would be dead. Look,
you could serve food at that temp. That's like food safe, I think. Maybe couple more degrees, and that's like a hot table when you stick your hand into a hot table. Yeah, it's really hot.
Yeah, 154 Fahrenheit. Now, let me actually, I'm curious now, I'm wondering, because fun little fact about me, folks, before I got into broadcasting, there were 3 career aspirations that I had. As a child, I wanted to be a race car driver. As a, boring adult job, I wanted to be an aircraft mechanic. As a cool adult job, I wanted to be a chef. And I ended up on being a broadcaster because I decided that just kind of making an ass of myself for a living was the proper calling for me career-wise. But, I think I should probably know this by heart. I'm pretty sure 154, we're talking about like a medium to medium well steak at that point. That's the internal temperature for it to get cooked that much.
Yeah, totally. I believe about 160 degrees Fahrenheit is what they call food safe. That's when that's what you want to keep things resting at. So if anybody's out there listening, that's kind of what you want to hit. You stick something in there. You go to a food table basically anywhere, and they have something laid out in front of you, the soup, whatever. It's going to be sitting right around there, or at least it should.
Oh, I missed that.
You got to get it up to there and then down. What was it? Yeah,
it was 154 for a well done steak, 143 for medium well. So
I was gonna say that seemed a little warm for 160. You're going to be eating a pretty tough steak, and you're not going to have too much pink left in that one. As we turn the SRG F4 race into a food podcast, which again we might end up getting a lot of views on stuff like that these days, right? Perhaps we should. Maybe we'll start cooking on the side while we're doing this, and then get some recipe ideas.
I've got it. SMB, slow motion baking. There we go.
There we are. I'm not a baking though. I like cooking. Baking's
or we can make it kind of like be all. Oh god, I remember one time I tried to make my own loaf of bread, and slow motion breakfast potentially. You could do like soups, meats, and breakfast. SMB. So. I think we'll workshop around that idea.
Talk
just
about
a
off the rails.
Oh boy, it's me on the air. Do you really expect anything else? We had a moment for Damian Dietrich not too long ago. He's dropped down to P15, and Rudy Samudio was recently able to get a move put on him. We do have a battle that is looking to potentially get intense here for 5th. This is Dustin Brown and Nathan Perkins in their own little train of cars, and right there in the back of shot, you can see Ryan Chia trying to reel in David Borden. Borden, of course, we saw leading the race in the early stages. Unfortunately, a early race mistake ends up costing him dearly, but looks like he'll still be able to run well here at the end. As James McDonald heads his way around this racetrack through the first sector for the last time, he grabbed the white flag by a matter of seconds. McDonald looking to be on track for a W.
Yeah, James McDonald, well-deserved victory today. If he can bring it to the line here in the 26, watched him through many races, and he drives very well. He drives very considerate of the people around him and so on. That's actually probably cost him a few positions a few times. Has made his own mistakes as well, like anyone else, but really well-deserved win here for James McDonald. Just happens to be a Canadian too, so that's a big route for Canadians here on the 26. Me being a Canadian as well. Good to see one up on the top step of the podium. We're just getting a chat message here. SMG, maybe mix the two. Call it slow motion grilling.
Ooh.
I like grilling.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. Fun little fact about me, my grandfather was actually a butcher. We can elaborate that on a later point as James McDonald heads his way around the final turn onto the start-finish straightaway. It's going to be victory for him here down in Australia. There's the checkered flag for James McDonald. He wins it over Jacob Gein in P2. Christopher Yee ends up in a distant, not too distant, third. I said distant, that felt a little bit mean. A little bit farther back, though, photo finish as they head towards a line between Dustin A. Brown and Nathan Perkins. They were only covered by 0.004 of a second as they came across the stripe. Brilliant stuff there. Jose Navas and David Borden also had a little close finish there as well. May need to load up a replay to see what the deal was there. So too with Damian Dietrich, who also had a disqualification as we got towards the end of the race. Unfortunate moment there for the driver. Still looking to get his fitting here in this series. We love seeing new drivers, new names get into the championship. Hey, talking about new names in the series, there was a period of time not too long ago where James McDonald was making a Sim Racers Group debut, and now he is grabbing the victory here in this race. He's been quick all season long, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. A bunch of good drives today from a bunch of the drivers out there, actually. We see some people kind of poking into places maybe they haven't been before, and having some clean finishes and stuff as well. So had a little bit of attrition out there too, but big one for Jacob Guyton there. Christopher Yee up in third place. Pretty awesome stuff, man. This is 2 races back to back now, AMS and this SRG F4 race that have really impressed me, man. The level of driving is really coming up, and the camaraderie there and racecraft is really awesome, man. It's just awesome to be a part of this stuff. Remembering, of course, that there is a brick and mortar for SRG. So there's some people sitting in these rigs in a row right down at the SRG compound there. And a really awesome thing Jason Cotcher has put together. And being able to broadcast it and make it come to life a little bit more, it just adds a whole nother layer there. And we obviously love being a part of it. And it's just been awesome to watch these drivers grow here. We're going to get our traditional SRG lineup on the line so we can get our photo of the top 3 finishing drivers here, so it should be pretty cool. And then, of course, we'll get some donuts, hopefully.
I knew I made this start-finish line camera for a good reason. There we go. That's what you love
very
to
nice.
see. As
looks good.
We'll wait to see the donuts go down here for James McDonald. Gonna burn it down after a well-earned victory here in round number 4 of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 season here in season 2 of 2026. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action. It's been myself, Ron Maunz, and Joshua Wilkie on the call with you here tonight as we will now see.
Gonna try to get it lit up. Oh. You got to put it in neutral and drop it into first. There we go. Guyton has some good donuts going, and now James McDonald joining the party there as well. Huge congrats to everybody making the podium here at Winton. Not an easy race, and of course burn them down with some slow motion donuts on slow motion broadcasting. Couldn't end it any better. And once we're done kind of burning it down here, we'll get to some interviews with our drivers here and just see exactly how Winton went for them tonight. Pretty clean race, I'd say. It went pretty well. I like this place quite a bit. Some people don't like it, but I think everybody had a pretty successful night.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I think these racers had a real good, fun time, and that's all about the world of sim racing as well, having some fun, and hopefully everyone tuning into the show had some fun as well, just as much as we had some fun doing the broadcast for all of you. But as we get to see these burnouts on the start-finish straight away, we'll use this as a good opportunity to take a look at your race results here for round number 4 of this season. That's going to be that man, James McDonald, grabbing the victory. He wins it over Jacob Gein. 1.8 seconds is the gap between those two at the line. Pretty much the same gap between Gein and Christopher Yee, who rounds out your podium in third, fittingly in the number 3 car. Dustin A. Brown, with a under-the-radar but still incredibly impressive drive, finishes this race in 4th position. Nathan Perkins is in P5. Jose Navas clashed in 6th when it's all done here tonight, with David Borden in 7th. Ryan Shia finishes this race in P8. Greg Meyer is in 9th, with Alex Schwartz running at your top 10.
Yeah, and then in 11th place, we have Sarab Vaz, number 30, and Ken Glasser will be in 12th. Walker Fruitz will be 13th. Rudy Samudio in 14th. Andreas Ruiz in 15th, Cy Nathan in 16th, Ken Estep in 17th, Damian Dietrich, will be in 18th, Bob Eggard in 19th, Tyler Hagen, admin actually of F4. Got to give a big shout out to him for all the extra work and everything he does around here, making sure that this is all clean. You wouldn't imagine how much work goes on in the background. Tyler's a big part of that, so huge thanks to him. And then Jason Trantham will round out our field in 21st, 14 laps down. So a little bit of attrition there in the back of the field, huh, Ron? Not everybody had a wonderful night, but this is one of those tracks, hopefully you can bring something home from and learn from, whether you had a good night or not.
Yeah, that's certainly true. This track can test many, whether you're an iRacing veteran or an iRacing rookie, but that's a brilliant thing about this community, whether it be here in the Formula 4s or also in the Formula 3s that we broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as well. You can never miss out on any of the racing action here on SMB by subscribing and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of it. But with all the business taken care of, let's move off into the interviews. I think there's some drivers looking to have a chat with us here, and Josh, I will give you the honors of getting the interview started and ask who you would like to have a chat with first.
Now, who do we have up there? You know what? Let's bring in James McDonald. I'd like to talk to him about his win here today and stuff, and kind of the rest of the season. How it's gone, how he's been able to make it here. So I'm gonna grab him, and you got him for me? Right on. We'll bring him down into the booth. James, that was an awesome race, man. This is not an easy track. I know, been watching. I don't get to speak a whole lot on these F4 shows, but been watching everybody grow and get better and faster. And this season really, really seems to be another jump up. Watched you, be very cautious and clean with your competitors and stuff. Maybe even costing you some positions every once in a while, trying to be courteous to people. But today it all came together, and you were able to get that win. Unfortunately, Borden spinning in front of you, no real fight there, but able to just hold it together and pull away. So maybe tell us exactly how Winton went and how you're making your season kind of clean up.
First of all, let's go! I'm
right on, man.
So excited. This is my first win with SRG. You're dead on with everything there. It was unfortunate that Borden spin. It is fortunate though that I didn't take him out. So I'm very happy that his unfortunate incident was not a result of me. It's just an incredibly slippery track at temperature. For every degree this track goes up, that series of S's is just, it gets harder and harder and harder because your tires never cool down. So I was really concentrating on trying to as much as I possibly could brake straight, if I could afford it with the clock, and especially in those S's, instead of going down to second, which is probably a good idea in the second turn, I would keep it in third because I thought that it would help my tires sort of stay alive a little bit more, and I think that helped me quite a bit. I was able to continue to put some decent times on just as a result of not torching those tires in that area that I knew was awful for them.
Yeah, interesting. We actually, I was around the second or third lap, we had a bunch of spins all of a sudden. Were you feeling like the car maybe just around that point was either trying to heat up, maybe people were pushing a little too hard, a little too early? Like you're saying, through that serpentine section, it really does tend to heat up those tires depending on where you're loading them and how you're loading them. Did it feel like the car was a little unbalanced earlier in the race and then found its teeth again, or was that just kind of maybe people getting a little bit froggy?
I think that the problem is that it takes 2 laps for this car to get its tires underneath itself, and that first lap you can do a lot of damage. And I agree with what you were saying with my sort of progression to maybe lose some positions to some people and try to keep it clean. SRG, the league that you're broadcasting on right now, SRG they're big proponents of clean racing, and they tell new drivers, look, start in the pits, learn how to drive around the track and be safe. And then when you get out there, remember that your I rating, for every race that you finish 17th, you have to do well in an awful lot of races to make up for that. So it's just kind of one of those things where, because I was able to stay clean, I never put the tires under that extra compounding stress that a lot of people, when they are racing against other opponents, are constantly doing. If I was going to be fighting Borden this whole time, and like doing that accordion thing where you jam up on the corners, because this is Monaco. You passing on this thing is awful. And if that was the case, then those tires and that serpentine would be exactly what you saw out of a lot of the other drivers. There's no chance to cool them down anywhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point I kind of brought up in the beginning. This is very similar to I race in SRFs every Sunday, and I always tell people, if you fight for apex in the first 10 minutes of the race and the whole time, it's just not a good way to do it. And around here, that's kind of what we saw. I think you're right, actually. There was a little bit of jockeying for position instead of just trying to kind of stay line astern, keep that momentum going, and keep up with the front pack. If you just kind of hack for apex over and over again, you end up heating those tires up. You end up going backwards. You might even end up having a spin. So that's some good advice there. And obviously staying out front, protecting those tires, keeping things in mind like braking straight and so on are things you have to do for sure. So some pretty cool insight there for sure, James. We're going to move on, I believe, to another SRG driver here. But
I want to give one shout out before I go, though. Do you mind if I give one shout out? Okay.
We'll give you the chance for sure there. Yeah, we'll give you a chance for some good thank yous and stuff there for sure. But I want to congratulate you first on the first win at SRG. Like I said, it looks like I've been seeing you out there, falling to some attrition, really having the speed to be up here, but not quite being able to put it together. So excellent for this one today. Congrats, James. And we'll give you a chance here to say thanks and give some shout outs.
Thank you so very much. You guys do such a fantastic job. It makes this whole thing worthwhile. And my parents at home and my wife in the next room, they watch your broadcast because it just makes it such a wonderful experience. So thank you very much to you guys. Thank you so much to SRG. When I joined the league, I didn't even have a wheel or pedals, and they helped me build a rig, and they told me how to learn to be fast. And it's been a wonderful experience with Jason and Tyler. There's been ups and downs and frustrations and growth and all of it, but I can't say enough about SRG just as an organization that's helped me achieve a win like this. And then it's just great. So thank you so very, very much to everybody and my wife for supporting me in this insane endeavor. So thank you all.
Awesome, man. Right on. Congrats, James. We will catch you on the next one. And just big congrats to you guys. Thanks for the shout out, man.
Appreciate it. You guys are the best.
Awesome. Right on. And that was James McDonald on an awesome win there today, and a great interview too. A lot of insight there as well. The leagues just allowing people to get faster, finding some friends out there, getting some tips, and that's what it's all about, man. A great story there, from no pedals to winning a race, and we got to watch it all happen right here. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that we did, but a man that I want to have a chat with here very quickly on this broadcast is going to be somebody who only joined the Sim Racers Group community at the start of last month, and since then has now been able to put together a very good drive, that being man who we talked about a decent amount throughout this broadcast, Dustin Brown. Canadian. Now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Dustin, welcome into the broadcast booth here on SMB, man. It looked like a really fun race out there, and you put together a stormer of a drive. How was it out there?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Arms are a little sore. A lot of turning going on at that track. A lot of turning. But yeah, overall, really fun race. It's my first, first appearance here. I'm sure you guys probably know that. I don't know if you guys caught the finish between Nathan and I, but it was pretty much a photo finish. Thought he was going to get me, but yeah, it was super close. Really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, well, I think our graphics said that it was about 0.004 of a second at the line between you two. So
really,
yeah, our graphics can sometimes be a little bit misleading. Sometimes it can be a little bit closer than that, but either way, 0.04 of a second just taking it as is, that is incredibly tight at the end of a 20-minute long race. I want to ask you about the Sim Racers group community, though, because I said right before I dragged in, you only joined this community back in about the end of March, so it's your first race with us here. Welcome on board and welcome into the booth here on SMB. So what does it mean to you very early on in your time here to be a part of a community like this?
This is actually my first proper league. I normally just spam officials and do the occasional like endurance race, but I happened to actually be in town and I actually met Jason and Tyler at the shop there that they run, and it all just kind of came together, and next thing I knew I was signed up for the league here in the Discord, and I ran NEC 4-hour endurance race last weekend with Nathan and Jacob. Shout out to them. We got a podium on that, so that was really cool. And that's what it's all about, you know, teaming up with some of these guys. I've talked to most of them, and super cool guys. Really well-run league you guys got going on. Jason and Tyler have going on here, and it's cool to be a part of it.
Yeah, pretty much the same sentiment that we have doing these broadcasts. We've been able to do them now since the start of 2025, and since then we've gotten to see this community grow and build, and the support grow with new drivers coming in like yourself. But next time out here, we're going to be running at Fuji in 1 week's time for round number 5 of this season. What are your thoughts and expectations heading there?
Fuji is another tough one for me. Winton is also a tough one. I was dealing with a lot of lockups that I couldn't get figured out here for whatever reason. I kind of gotten into a rhythm toward the end, but it was a little too late to grab that podium. Fuji, it'll probably be the same. I might struggle a little bit there. It's a really technical track that I haven't raced enough of or practiced enough of yet to really nail a lap, so I'll be putting in some practice and hopefully grab a podium next time.
I mean, as they say, practice makes perfect. But Dustin, before we let you go and celebrate this fantastic result on debut here in F4, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Shout out to my wife, who may or may not be watching at work. She's working right now. Shout out to Nathan Perkins. Shout out to Jacob Guyton for the podium win at NEC. Shout out to you guys for the great broadcast. And the whole league, really. This is a cool introduction. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, there you go, Dustin. And thank you for the kind words. Thank you for joining us, and welcome into SRG.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Thank you very much. That right there was Dustin Brown. Debut driver walks away with the top 5. And Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have one last chat before we wrap things up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. The man with the best car in the world. I don't have the sound effect for the Taco Bell dong, but it is Greg Meyer set to join us here in the booth. We'll give that a whirl. I wonder if my my broadcast settings may end up interfering with that. Oh, there we go. That was well heard on the show. That's fantastic.
Not sure if that came out, but there it is.
Yeah, it came across. I can tell you that with confidence. But,
perfect.
Yeah, let's have a chat with Greg Meyer on that Taco Bell machine. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Pretty awesome race out there today. Not an easy racetrack. We're hearing, back and forth between the drivers. They kind of like this one or they hate this one, but it ended up being a pretty clean race. And I would imagine that much was learned out there tonight, even if it wasn't a track that you mesh with so well. How was it out there for you today?
Yeah, exactly like you said. Pretty difficult, but I didn't learn anything. I didn't even learn from the last time I came here. I should have known, but the first 10 minutes were fine, and then the tires start to go, and it's impossible. So it wasn't very much fun for me, honestly. The last 8 minutes, I was just trying to hang on and I was hitting pass and just trying to hold on for dear life.
Yeah, Winton does tend to be like that. It's one of those things you kind of mesh with it or you don't. That sort of serpentine section there, you just get it wrong, a couple times in a row. It starts to feel like pretty bad. Really wear the tires out. Really warm track today too, so everybody's been complaining about the same thing there. You can actually see even on your replay here, we're watching you kind of understeer through some of the corners here. You're just kind of burning those tires off. Difficult track for sure. I've raced around here a few times. Pretty stop-starty. We are headed to Fuji for our next round. Also, not a very difficult track, a very difficult track, not one that I've meshed with very well either. I wouldn't say it's similar to this one, but it's difficult like this one as well. Are you looking forward to that one?
Nope, not at all. Actually, it's one of my least favorite tracks. Yeah, I haven't messed with it either. There's a couple corners I've never figured out, so I need to get that done before next week. But overall, I like Fuji. There's just like 2 corners that get me every time, so I really need to spend some time figuring those out.
Yeah, for sure. I try to make those tracks that I don't like, my favorite tracks, but sometimes they just fail to do that. I haven't been around Fuji enough to really put say I hate it or like it, but I can tell you the first time I was there, I just didn't really feel like I was flowing very well around that track. It's a difficult one, so definitely need to put some hours in on that one, I think.
I'm excited for the rest of the season after Fuji. All the tracks are amazing, so I'm very excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I believe after Fuji here, we have Mount Panorama, Suzuka, Oran Park, Sandown, Adelaide. Yeah. Really looking forward to that one. Tsukuba, and then Phillip Island. Also great place to end it off on Phillip Island too.
Tsukuba's going to be chaos.
Yes, it certainly will on the 2000 full layout there. Probably meant for cars. You could race these around here, but that should be an interesting one. Really looking forward to Adelaide. I really like that track a lot. Very, very difficult, very technical track as well. Should be interesting to see everybody rip around that one. And Suzuka, Mount Panorama. Yeah, you guys have some pretty interesting, very technical tracks coming up. So should be a good season. But before we let you go there, Greg, is there anybody you'd like to thank out there?
Shout out to my family, to my mom watching, and to my girlfriend out there, and to SRG for putting it together.
Awesome. Right on, man. Well, we will catch you next week, and have a good one, Greg. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you, guys.
And that right there was Greg Meyer, who probably just got his eardrums blown out by that Taco Bell dong. But, Josh, I think we had a fun time here on SMB. We had that fantastic American Muscle Series race earlier on tonight. We wrap it off with another good race here in the Sim Racers group. Maybe one of the most challenging races that these drivers will be tackling all season long. But I gotta say, and this is honest, the field coped with the challenge brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. This the F4 SRG Sim Racers group league here has really taken steps forward in the last couple of years that we have been a part of it, and we've watched them just grow into some great racecraft, and we will be seeing some of these drivers by the end of the season promoted to F3, and that's kind of the way it goes. You start out, I believe, at SRG and kind of the FFs, and it's not broadcast, and you make it up to here, and then you make it up to the F3s, and we'll be seeing some of these drivers eventually transition over there for our show tomorrow night on Wednesday, which is our F3 shows, where the damage is on and there's heat racing, and it gets a little bit more difficult. So this is the path, and they're taking it, and it's looking great out there for sure. Great race.
An absolutely brilliant race, but far from the end of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, as Josh just said, tomorrow night you'll be able to catch the latest round of the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Championship. That'll be at Road America. Definitely a departure from this racetrack here. And then this weekend, we have got you fully booked with all of our Weekend Warriors leagues. The Formula V is going to be running at Summit Point. The Formula Ford is going to be at Portland, while the Spec Racer Fords make their first ever appearance at the Circuit of the Americas on the NASCAR West layout. That is going to be an odd
I'm nervous
one for sure. Yeah, Josh, you're going to be out there on the racetrack for that, and you kind of let us know about some of the quirks and features, shall we say, of that place.
Pretty wild track limits at NASCAR West. Yeah, I did a little bit of a track tutorial there earlier, actually, in the day today, just to kind of look at it. Never been there, and yeah, let's just say track limits are a bit of a suggestion around that track, and it's going to be a bit of an interesting one.
Yeah, that is going to be an odd one for sure. I've gotten the opportunity to do two broadcasts there. Try saying that 5 times
That's
fast.
A hard one. Yep.
And it was both with NASCAR machinery in the form of the O'Reilly's cars, as well as the NASCAR Cup machines. You can't really compare those to the Spec Racer Ford, so that won't be the most representative difference in the world, but still looking forward to that. And along with that as well, we've also got the American Muscle Series, as well as the next round of the FIA Formula 4 cars here in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series being at Fuji. Josh, the Fuji round next time out is going to be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I think so. Again, it'll be another challenge for these drivers out there for sure. Fuji, not an easy track, not an easy one to find the flow around. for sure. So that should be an interesting one. You just don't go there often. It's a fairly new track to the service, fairly new track in period, I believe, at least for most of our North American drivers and stuff here. So should be an interesting one. I think we're going to have another, it's a week between now and then. If I had any advice for anybody, I'd say go hit Fuji and just hit it every day for about an hour. Even if you just touch your rig, just touch it again every day for an hour. By the end of the week, you will be a master at Fuji, and it'll be one of your favorite tracks. That's the way I kind of try to do it anyway.
Yeah, so Fuji going to be a fun one, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune into that broadcast in 1 week's time. But that does not round off the action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, we cover all of these series week in and week out. But along with that, a little bit later on this year, come time for the spring, specifically come time for May, one of the drivers that we saw in this event here today, Ken Estep, will be running the Mustang GT3 charity race in honor of Sergeant Adam W. Estep. The Adam W. Estep Memorial Scholarship Mustang GT3 charity race. I'll be broadcasted live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and members of all sim racing communities are welcome to be a part of this event, make donations, be a part of the racing action out there. Our colleague here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, Charles Bochelle, is going to be out there on the racetrack there, along with, I believe, some of the other team members of his organization, Olympus Esports, and many of the other drivers that you see week in and week out here on Slow Motion Broadcasting will be a part of that event as well. And whether you are driving or just spectating, we hope that you will decide to make that be a part of your May 30th plans here on SMB. Starts at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I believe that's about 1:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. But a lot of action to look forward to here on SMB. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here today, for round number 4 of the Formula 4 Sim Racers Group action, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie joining me in the broadcast booth here today, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.